That's her scientific conclusion of how exercise has its origins in white supremacy. Time magazine says exercise has its origins in white supremacy. As you can imagine, this is going to be a very scholarly article we go through. I have the utmost respect for the woke authors who wrote this, and I certainly fully support the discouragement of exercise because obviously its roots are deep into white supremacy. So, people are dumber than they used to be. It's great. So, I love exercise. I want to dive into this. To me, there's 3 F's to live by: family, freedom, and fitness. And fitness, of course, is both body and mind, because you can't be free if you're not fit, and you can't support your family if you're not fit and free. So, family, freedom, fitness. 3 F's I love. And this woke author of the Time Magazine article, The White Supremacist Origins of Exercise, in my opinion, they're spitting in the face of people. I do believe there's a deliberate attempt by, call it elites, globalists, to weaken society. That's the understatement of the century. We see it through indoctrination, getting people to be mentally weaker, outsource their thinking. And to me, it absolutely goes into the physical realm where they're trying to get people physically weaker as well. I don't think there was any coincidence that during the lockdowns that were incredibly necessary, liquor stores remained open, gyms remained closed. And then we have the body positivity movement, which is literally trying to tell people you are strong if your health is weak. Okay. And now we have some discouragement of exercise because exercise has its origins in white supremacy. You don't want to be one of them, do you? So this Time Magazine article, it's an interview with a lady who wrote a book, and this info is coming from her book, which, by the way, I'm guessing this interview didn't really move many copies of her piece of garbage book. So the lady being interviewed that this info comes from is named Natalia Melman Petzerella. There it is. And here's the article: The White Supremacist Origins of Exercise and 6 Other Surprising Facts About the History of U.S. Physical Fitness. So the one question is, okay, lady, how does exercise have its origins in white supremacy? Get to that in a second. And then I will share with you, in my humble opinion, what the actual origins of exercise are. So here in the article, she's talking about people in the early 20th century, so early 1900s, that were promoting exercise, advocating people should exercise. And some of those people, based on this woke author's research, were saying white women should start building up their strength because we need more white babies. That's her scientific conclusion of how exercise has its origins in white supremacy. So let's just say these people who were saying that, let's just say they are racist, because that sounds like a pretty racial thing to say. They didn't invent exercise. They might be people who exercised, who were advocating for exercise, that were also racist. That's like saying, you had plenty of racism in the early 1900s. I bet some of them rode horses. That's like saying, oh, dude, horseback riding has its origins in white supremacy. How do you know that? Because there's some racist people who ride horses. Does that mean they invented horseback riding? Seems like it, doesn't it? Or like white supremacy people walking in the 1900s. We could, by the same logic, say walking has its origins in white supremacy. So these were by no means people who invented exercise. They were people advocating that white women should exercise because they were saying we need more white babies. Pretty screwed up thing to say. Granted, that was pretty common in their time. But the people saying that didn't invent exercise. So where did exercise come from? Believe it or not, it didn't come from a Klan rally. Exercise was invented, here's the true origin of exercise, it originated with what's called humanity. People used to exercise in order to survive. If they didn't exercise, they did not survive. The thing is, they didn't call it exercise. They called it living. They were out hunting, gathering, fighting off predators, mauling their neighbors, cutting down trees, throwing spears into hippos. That was exercise, but they didn't need to call it exercise because that was their way of life. That preceded white supremacy. That probably preceded white people. So, dear author of this Time Magazine article, in my humble opinion, you are full of crap. you are propagating anti-racism, which means you're propagating racism. Anti-racism is exactly what it claims to be against. And in my opinion, this woke lady is also discouraging people from exercising. So like, you shouldn't walk because white supremacists walking, therefore they invented walking. So you don't want to be a walker, do you? Because you know where that comes from. In this article, which is just not worth reading because it's nothing informative, it also goes through like, dude, okay, like we're told to exercise today. That's a conspiracy theory, like, because you don't need to be fit and healthy to be healthy, right? That's the body positivity movement. So the idea that exercise and being healthy actually makes you healthy, that's a conspiracy theory. So they talk about how long ago it used to be considered desirable to be fat because they thought fat is good because people who were affluent tended to be fatter. People desired to be fat. What they actually desired was to be affluent. So affluent people used to be mostly the only fat ones. Why? Because they could afford not to do the work. They could afford to have other people's manual activity propagate their survival because they could trade resources, money, whatever it might have been. The idea that, well, fat used to be desirable. So are we just such a bigoted society that we've lost sight of that? No, we're a society, we're living in a first world country. So most people don't have to be out exercising to create their shelter, provisions, and protection. The idea that fat used to be good certainly doesn't mean it's good now. And it didn't mean it's good then. It's just people didn't actually desire to be fat. They desired to be wealthy. And it was just wealthy people were the only ones who could literally afford to be fat. Oh, in the article is honorable mention here. It also talks about running and basically how running isn't very equitable because a few decades ago when running was being promoted, the slogan was running is for everyone. But luckily, we have this woke author pointing out, unfortunately, running's not for everyone because not everyone lives in an equal neighborhood. Some people live in a neighborhood where it's not really safe to go outside. So the idea of saying running is for everyone, it's just not very equitable. All right, go fuck yourself. I admittedly get a little pissed when people try to insult human intelligence, when they try to promote unhealthiness as healthiness, and when they try to defame what makes a human being stronger and better. That is not to be confused with like the one crumb of truth in the body positivity movement, which is like, don't make fun of fat people. Of course, don't make fun of anyone unless you are a piece of garbage. Or if they're woke, then probably do make fun of them. So to me, the issue isn't like, well, you know, we should shame fat people. No, of course not. It's none of your business how someone wants to live. That's them being free, whether it works for them or against them, or if it works against them, but they think it works for them, they're free to believe and live that way. But I get pissed off when people try to actively promote and indoctrinate society as well as kids to think exercise is bad, being obese is good, being fit and healthy, that's white supremacy. Being lazy and complacent, that's desirable. Yeah, it makes it easier for communism to take root because a weakened society in both body and mind is a very easy society to control. Because people who are brave, they're hard to control. People with bravery, courage, and the mental and physical fitness to express that courage, they're not only hard to control, but guess what? You can't control them. My guess is there's a reason why, or that's the reason why there's an active attempt to weaken people. Promote what makes you weaker as that makes you stronger. Promote what makes you stronger or demote what makes you stronger and tell people that makes you weaker. Makes you a white supremacist. It was bad. They used to be fat and that was good. And now we want to go back to our roots that fat is desirable. So with that said, that's the Time Magazine article claiming that exercise has its origins in white supremacy. I award this article 5 piles of poop. And with that said, my freedom-loving friend, I hope you have a great new year. I'll see you back here for our next video. And until then, stay free.